Hey there, beauties and bees! Welcome back to the show. What a great day to talk about some spooky urban legends that you might never have heard about. Did you know there is a way to clap that could curse someone to death? At least that's what millions of people in Japan believe. I want to show you, but I don't want to curse you guys, so I'll just explain. In the past 15 years, a curse has swept through Japanese entertainment, talked about so much on internet forums, dramatized on TV horror shows, feared by idols and celebrities. They call it urahakushu, and that translates to the reverse clap. Some say it destroyed the career of a legendary producer. Others claim it predicted deaths, possessed the living, and left a trail of tragedy through Japan's entertainment world. Is it real or just a superstition? We're about to find out. Today, we're diving into the reverse clap curse. Let's begin. Every culture has its own relationship with death, right? Its own rules, its own rituals. And in Japan, there's this saying, Shinderu hito wa nandemo sakasama. It translates to, when it comes to dead people, everything is reversed. Everything is reversed. What does that mean? For example, a kimono or yukata, those traditional Japanese robes, they are normally worn with the right side wrapped over first. But for the deceased, it's the opposite, left over right. Even their shoes get switched to the wrong feet. All of it done deliberately so the living can tell the dead apart from everyone else. There's even this chilling tale about a couple driving home late one night after a summer festival. They're laughing, singing, flirting, just having a good time. Then they spot this boy on the side of the road wearing a yukata. So the girlfriend tells her man to pull over, maybe offer the kid a ride. But instead of stopping, the boyfriend just speeds up, doesn't say a word, just floors it. The girl is furious. She cannot believe the person she loves would do something so heartless. But then, in this quiet, shaky voice, he finally speaks. Did you see his yukata? It was backwards. He wasn't human. Which is creepy, right? But today's story isn't about yukata or ghost shoes. Today's story is about how something as simple as a clap, just putting your hands together, can bring malice into someone's life, can destroy someone's career, or maybe even worse. Now, is this scientifically proven? No. Could it all just be coincidence? Maybe. But when the same pattern keeps showing up over and over again, you'll start to wonder, is it really coincidence? Or is there something darker at work? So let me tell you about a man named Tsunku. If you're into J-pop, you've probably heard of AKB48. But have you heard about Morning Musume? Back in the day, they were massive. They were the nation's girl group, kind of massive. They had subunits, graduated members who went on to have huge solo careers and made their own names in the industry. Just like AKB48 had Aki P and how Twice had JYP, Morning Musume had Tsunku. This guy was a genius, a producer, a songwriter. He created hits that broke records. But before all that, he was actually in a rock band called Sharankyu. At a time when not many Japanese bands were doing their style of music, they blew up. They had chart-topping hits and sold millions of records. Tsunku achieved everything. Success with Sharankyu, legendary status with Morning Musume. He did it all while he was young. He was living the dream. And then everything came crashing down. In his prime, Tsunku was diagnosed with laryngeal cancer of the voice box. For someone whose entire life revolved around music and producing, whose career was built on his voice, this was devastating. He tried everything, the best doctors, every treatment available. At one point, the cancer actually shrunk down to almost nothing. They thought maybe he'd beaten it, but it came back. And in 2015, Tsunku made the hardest decision of his life, To survive, he had to remove his vocal cords entirely. His voice, that famous husky voice that had defined his career, was gone forever. He couldn't sing anymore. He could barely speak. Everything he'd worked for, everything he'd built his identity around, silenced. But here's where he showed his strength. Tsunku didn't give up. He stayed in the industry, working behind the scenes as a producer, creating music, managing artists. A tragic story, but an inspiring one about resilience. Nothing was wrong with his story. Nothing strange. Until years later, when an old video was re-examined. Around 2008, internet forums in Japan started buzzing about something called the reverse clap, a gesture of death, a curse hidden in plain sight. As the urban legend spread like wildfire, people began looking back through old footage, and that's when someone found it. A Sharam-Q television appearance from 1997, nearly 2 decades old. An occult blogger made a shocking claim that sent the Japanese internet into a frenzy. The video went viral overnight, and suddenly a fear that had been building in Japan's online horror communities exploded into mainstream consciousness. It was just a normal TV appearance, bright set, cheerful MC, Tsunku as the guest. There was even a studio audience, clapping and laughing at all the right moments. When Tsunku walked out, they applauded enthusiastically, which is standard stuff. But then, if you looked closely at the screen, you could see it. 2 pairs of hands clapping in a very strange way. So a normal clap is simple, right? Your palms come together, that's it. But these hands, they were clapping with the backs of their hands facing each other, like they'd reverse the whole motion. It looked unusual. It looked very unsettling. It was something that in Japan is considered one of the biggest taboos you can break. But where does this curse come from? One theory is particularly chilling. Some say it originates from drowning victims, people who died in water. Their hands become so waterlogged, so swollen and bloated that they can't clap normally anymore. So when their spirits return, when they come back to pull others into the depths with them, they celebrate their new companion the only way they can, by clapping with the backs of their hands. A twisted applause from the drowned, welcoming you to join them in death. And Tsunku isn't the only person people believe fell victim to this curse. So let me tell you about Masao Yoshii. Yoshii is a comedian, and he shared this story during one of those summer paranormal TV specials, where everyone takes turns telling ghost stories and creepy experiences. When it was his turn, he remembered something from way back when he was just starting out, his major television debut. So let's picture the scene. Yoshi's standing there, nervous as hell, waiting for filming to start. He's looking around, taking everything in because this is all brand new to him. In front of him, not too close but not too far, there is an assistant director, an AD, working on something, arranging equipment, doing his job. Since everything about being on a TV set is unfamiliar, Yoshii can't help but stare. He's just watching this guy work. And then suddenly the temperature drops. At first, he thinks it's just the air conditioning cranking hard in the big studio. But this cold feels different. Still, the lights are bright, everything looks normal, so he brushes it off. Until he notices something on the AD's shoulders. 2 spots, one on each shoulder. They weren't there before, and before was literally just seconds ago. But for some reason, Yoshii can't look away. His eyes are locked on those spots, like something's calling to him. And then the spots start growing, changing, transforming into something he can't quite explain. 2 pairs of eyes staring directly at him. Yoshii tells himself it's just his imagination, stage fright messing with his head. So he forces himself to look away and waits for the rehearsal to start. The rehearsal goes fine, no problems. Once he gets comfortable with the cameras, the tension melts away. By the time they're ready for the actual filming, he's relaxed, professional. Now, in most TV shoots, the staff, especially the floor director and assistant directors, they line up across the talent, sometimes facing the live audience. And that is exactly what happened. The staff lined up in front of Yoshii and the other performers. And that same AD ends up standing right there, directly in front of him. Yoshii looks at him. The guy seems fine now, normal. Those eyes on his shoulders, gone. But behind the AD, there are two children standing. A girl on his left, a boy on his right. This strikes Yoshii as weird immediately. The other audience members are all seated in their designated spots, and usually kids aren't even allowed at these comedy show tapings. The content's too mature for them. Then things get stranger. The girl keeps staring at the AD, and as she stares, the AD starts coughing violently. When the boy reaches out and touches the AD's shoulder, the guy jerks his body, rolling his shoulders like they're stiff or cramping. Yoshi's distracted now. His curiosity's eating at him. Whenever the camera swings away from him, he glances over at the AD, just to make sure he's not losing his mind. And every time he looks, they're still there. The boy and girl touching the AD's shoulders, staring at him. The AD keeps coughing, keeps wincing, keeps trying to work out that stiffness. Thankfully, the shoot wraps up without any major incidents. You know how it goes at the end. Everyone says, "Otsukaresama deshita." Thanks for your hard work. Smiles all around. The cast thanks the audience. Standard procedure. And that's when Yoshii sees it. Among all the audience members clapping for the cast and crew, two pairs of hands catch his attention. The boy and the girl. They're applauding, but not normally. They're clapping with the backs of their hands. At the time, Yoshii thinks maybe their palms are sore or something, some innocent explanation. But the image won't leave his mind. He can't stop thinking about what happened in that studio. Who were those children? What did it all mean? And he remembers hearing something once, a story about a taboo, something about a way of clapping that people are terrified to break. So finally, he works up the courage to visit an acquaintance of his, someone who works with spiritual practices, a shaman. He tells her everything, the spots on the AD's shoulders, the eyes, the two children, the strange way they clapped. And as he's telling the story, the shaman just freezes. Her face goes pale. Her eyes go wide. "Can you repeat that?" she asks. "Repeat what?" "The hands. Show me how they clapped." So Yoshii demonstrates. He puts his hand together, backs facing each other, just like he saw. The moment he does it, a chill runs down his spine. He just made a simple gesture, but the air in the room shifts. The shaman's face shifts. She looks deeply concerned. "The AD," she says quietly. "Is he okay? Is he still alive?" The question throws Yoshii completely. What does that even mean? It's just a gesture, right? But then it all starts clicking into place. He remembers the children doing that gesture, remembers them touching the AD, remembers how his body reacted, the coughing, the stiffness. And then the shaman explains, "Shinderu hito wa nandemo sakasama." When it comes to dead people, everything is reversed. This gesture has a name, urahakushu, the reverse hand clap. In the world of onmyoji, practitioners of divination based on yin, yang, and the 5 phases in Japan, the palm represents yang, life, the sun, positive energy. The back of the hand, that represents yin, death, darkness, negative energy. So when you clap normally, palms together, you're harmonizing with the sun. It's auspicious. It's the same gesture used in Shinto prayers. It brings good fortune. But clapping with the backs of your hands, that's ominous. It's seen as an act of cursing someone. In fact, the reverse hand clap is said to be used in black magic. Now here's what's interesting. While the cultural framework is ancient, the yin-yang philosophy, the concept of reverse things for the dead, the reverse clap curse itself emerged as an urban legend in Japan in the late 2000s. It started appearing on 2Channel, Japan's massive anonymous message board, around 2008. Horror stories, strange encounters, whispered warnings. Then it exploded. By 2011, detailed stories were being posted on occult forums. And then came 2013, the turning point. A horror storyteller named Tanaka Yoshii entered a televised competition called the Kaidan Grand Prix, basically the Olympics of Japanese ghost stories. His tale about the reverse clap, which he called abekobe, meaning backwards or opposite, won the entire competition. Millions watched. Overnight, the reverse clap went from internet whispers to mainstream horror. Then comedian Shimada Shuhei, famous for both hand reading and ghost stories, began sharing reverse clap tales on TV shows. His version, about a couple visiting haunted spots, the girlfriend slowly possessed by spirits until she joyfully doing the death clap, became one of the most retold horror stories in modern Japan. Within just a few years, everyone in Japan knew about it. Real or not, the fear became very, very real. In Yoshi's story, those children were essentially saying to the AD, "Die. We want you to die. Come meet us in the afterworld." Nobody knows what happened to that AD, but this story became proof to many people that the curse is real. Some occult researchers go even deeper. They point to the Kojiki, one of Japan's oldest texts, written over 1,300 years ago. In it, there's a deity named Kotoshironushi, who, when forced to give up his land to other gods, performs something called Amano Sakate, the heavenly reverse hand, before vanishing into the realm of the dead. It was an act of defiance, an act of cursing those who wronged them. Whether this ancient gesture evolved into the modern curse, or whether people are just simply connecting dots across centuries, well, that's the question. We don't know. And it's not just Yoshi's story. Stories circulate all over Japanese internet forums, like Nogisaka 46 member Hori Miona, who reportedly cried during filming of the variety show Nogi Bingo 4 because someone did the reverse clap during the show. She was so shaken that she begged them to stop, visibly distressed by the gesture. The fear in her eyes was real. The tears were real. And there's another story about an idol group. Their name's been kept anonymous. Back in their training days before debut, one of the girls jokingly did the reverse clap at her friend. Just messing around, nothing serious. And that friend was later found dead, tragically. Then during one of their performances after their debut, a staff member saw something strange. A woman in the audience who looked eerily like the girl who died. Same face, same outfit, the exact one she'd been wearing when she died. The staff member thought maybe it was just someone who looked similar, a coincidence. Until the performance ended and everyone started applauding the group. The woman stood there applauding too, with the backs of her hands. Now, is this story real? That's debatable. The authenticity is questionable, but here's what matters. Even today, people in Japan avoid doing the reverse clap, even as a joke, even when they're just fooling around. Why did this particular curse capture Japan's imagination so completely? Maybe because it's so simple. Anyone can do it. Anyone can see it. It doesn't require secret knowledge, special training, or occult artifacts. Just a twisted gesture, hiding in plain sight among normal applause. In a culture already deeply sensitive to death omens and sakasagoto, the reverse things, the reverse clap hit a nerve. That said, some people still test it. They want to see if the stories circulating online are true. Some even do it during summer courage tests, like it's all just fun and games. But here's where it gets interesting. Skeptics have a point. They note that these curse stories only started circulating after people got sick or had accidents. That Charam Q video, it was from 1997. but nobody called it cursed until Tsunku's cancer diagnosis in 2014, 17 years later. So it could be a classic case of retrofitting a narrative, they say, looking for patterns after the fact, confirmation bias in action. The believers counter differently. Maybe, they say, we just weren't paying attention. Maybe the warnings were there all along, hidden in footage we'd seen 100 times. Maybe we only noticed once it was too late, once the curse had already done its work. And that's the thing about curses, isn't it? You never know if they're real until something happens. And by then, it's too late to take it back. So what do you think? Are all these tragedies just coincidence? Random bad luck that happened to follow a pattern? Or is there something more to the reverse hand clap? Something darker? Something real? And what would you do if you saw someone clapping at you in that strange, backwards way? Let me know in the comments below, and that is the end of tonight's story. See you guys soon, and until then, bye-bye.